Once upon a time, in a far-away land, there lived a kind and beautiful girl. Her name was Cinderella. She lost her mother when she was very young, and her father married again. But her stepmother and her two cruel daughters never loved Cinderella. They made her do all the housework. "Sweep the floors, wash the clothes, clean the rooms," they shouted. Poor Cinderella worked from morning till night, but never complained. Even when she was tired, she always kept hope in her heart. She believed that one day her life would change. One morning, news arrived from the royal palace. The king was holding a grand ball that very night for the prince. Every young woman in the kingdom was invited. The stepsister screamed with joy. "The prince will choose me," shouted one. "No, he'll marry me," said the other. Cinderella shyly asked, "May I go to the ball too?" But her stepmother laughed mockingly and said, "You, in that dirty dress? Stay home and finish the chores." Then she slammed the door and left. Cinderella looked out the window, tears falling down her cheeks. Suddenly, a bright light appeared, and before her stood a gentle fairy godmother. The fairy smiled kindly. "Don't cry, my dear. You shall go to the ball," she said. She lifted her magic wand, and, right before Cinderella's eyes, a pumpkin turned into a golden carriage. The mice became fine horses, and her old torn dress turned into a shining princess gown. On her feet sparkled two delicate glass slippers. The fairy godmother warned her softly, "Remember, my child, the magic will only last until midnight. When the clock strikes 12, everything will return to normal." Cinderella nodded, thanked her, and stepped into the carriage. When she entered the palace, everyone fell silent. The prince could not take his eyes off her. They danced all night, laughing and talking happily. For the first time in her life, Cinderella felt truly happy. But suddenly, the great palace clock began to chime. Ding, ding, ding. It was midnight. Cinderella gasped. "I must go," she cried, running down the stairs. The prince called after her, "Wait, where are you going?" But she was already gone, running down the steps. As she ran, one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot. The carriage turned back into a pumpkin, the horses into mice, and her gown back into rags. Cinderella disappeared into the night. The next morning, the prince began searching the entire kingdom, holding the glass slipper in his hand. "I must find the girl who owns this shoe," he said. He went from village to village, from house to house. But the slipper didn't fit anyone. At last he came to Cinderella's home. The stepsisters tried it on, but it was too small. Then Cinderella softly said, "May I try it on?" Everyone was surprised, but the prince agreed. The slipper fit perfectly. At that very moment, the fairy godmother appeared again, and Cinderella's dress sparkled once more. The prince smiled and said, "At last I've found you." And from that day on, Cinderella moved to the palace. All the cruelty was left behind, and Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after.